All right, first and foremost, we give all praise, honor, and glory unto the Most High God Yahweh, and we do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahushai. I didn't get to finish my presentation, so we're gonna do it tonight through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. We're gonna deal with some other things as well, but yeah, I'm gonna get right to it. So I can just go ahead and get that on out the way. All right. Who's seen Daniela go over his stuff because he didn't get to do his presentation? Anybody seen that? Daniela was coming with pure work for these guys. But yeah, so I'm gonna just get into the presentation. If y'all want to see the slides, go look at the link. Go look at the YouTube, and you'll be able to see the slides.
I need you to pull that up if you want me to read.
No, you ain't gotta read. I can read. You're all right. So this is where I left from, which was the quick recap of all the points that I had touched on, which is, of course, that Torah didn't come from Mayat. Mayat is a false balance, and Kemet is yet to be proven as a civilization, of course, in an etymological sense. The guys that got pretty upset with me behind making the statement that Kemet wasn't a civilization, but I was just looking at the etymology. Some call it a genetic fallacy, which it was a genetic fallacy. But the thing is, this is the type of BS that they do to us all the time. So I just gave them a taste of their own medicine.
Right.
I'm just going to throw stuff out there that is going to make y'all upset. And then Jabari came back because I said there was no Medunetz's word for judgment. He came back or judge rather, and he came back and showed that there was cool, but you didn't show a judicial system there. You didn't show that. So I just threw stuff out there. Why? Because it's what they do to us. So, it was funny. It's hilarious to me. We're going to keep it going, though. We're going to move into the next slide. You had something?
I was going to say, was you going to go into the conversation we had with Rob Bourne in terms of...
Not right now, I'm not.
But you going to touch on it? Because I was going to say...
Well, go ahead. Talk about it.
So pretty much, bro went into showing how it lacked the principle of a civilization because it didn't have a judicial system. We had a conversation with one of the Kemetic brothers. They were saying, well, it did. Kemet did have a judicial system and a court process, but it did not relay back to Ma'at. Then from him, we got a claim that, Ma'at isn't laws, they're just principles. So anytime, these Egyptian dudes is coming to you saying that, we got the laws, statutes, and commandments from Ma'at. Ma'at isn't even laws. You see what I'm saying? So that's one way to substantiate that we can't get the laws from Ma'at. If you're saying that it's a principle, comes judgments. All right, there's law, statutes, commandments, and judgments, which they have yet to, explain, break down, or edify as to what the judgments are for violating Ma'at. When they go into it, the 42 negative professions, I have not, I will not, so on and so forth. But if you have, then what's the judgment? And then that's another thing that the brother spoke about, the reciprocity of, their court process. What's the repayment for violating your brother according to the laws of Ma'at, which they still haven't went in on. Well, yeah, that's all.
Yeah, that video is up though. That footage, I think it's on one of the Soneta's pages.
What?
Of that conversation.
No, that's not on it.
Yeah, that part.
The later part is on it. That part of the discussion is not. That if he wasn't recording. He didn't walk up until in the middle of the conversation. When Divine was building. What I was going to say as well, there was another point that I wanted to make about that. Oh, and you'll notice as well, anybody who saw it, Jabari, if you've seen Jabari's presentation, Jabari made his presentation while all of us presented. And they bought him a little bit more time while having Reggie present first. But in Jabari's presentation, he did exactly what I said he was going to do and what they always do. because I like literally, if you look at this, like we gave the parallels, you know, I quoted the Mayat law, and then I put the biblical law, and we read them side by side. We showed the parallels, and I made the claim that they'll never do that. And he went on to try to prove the point that Mayat, but he didn't give any parallels. He just said that this law comes from all these laws of Mayat. It didn't make any sense. And again, to suggest that 9 became 613 is just it's ridiculous. And that's why Ankh even laughed at the notion that that was even possible or plausible or logical, right? But we're going to move on. We're going to get into the law slides, all right? So this slide is called The Importance of Mythos. Kemetic priest, Brother Jabari, the myths and their message are of far more importance than the historical authenticity, and I agree. Why? Number one, because the word myth doesn't denote fiction, and number two, it leaves a positive path to emulate, right? Principles and the morals of the story, right? So what are some valuable biblical mythos? We take Colin Kaepernick into consideration and how he's emulating the path that Moses walked. If we take the story of Exodus and how there's no story in history that Black people in America can relate more to than the story of the Exodus, or we take a look at the story of Yahushua, young brother with humble beginnings, you know, from the hood, from the streets, who comes up and lays his life down for his people. All of these are positive examples and stories in which they have morals that all of us can extract from and apply directly to our lives, right? So now let's take a look at the Kemetic myth and how it's being emulated in our community today. Okay, in Spell 700 from the Book of the Dead, Kemetic deity Geb says his phallus is between the buttocks of his son and heir. This is what they believe in Kemet, right? Let's examine how the principle of this is being emulated by quote-unquote Cometians in this day and age, right? So if we take a look at African Bambaataa, is everybody familiar with African Bambaataa in the scandal that broke out last year? So you got, does everybody know who African Bambaataa is? So I could, Soul Sonic Force, all right? He's a legendary, he's considered one of the founders of hip-hop, all right? This guy named African Bambaataa. For years, he was molesting little boys. It came out last year that for years he'd been a homosexual and he's been molesting little boys for years, for over 20, 30 years he's been doing this, right? But guess what philosophy he follows? You think he's into the Bible? Think he follows the Quran? No, he follows ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt, where their myths consist of their gods being incestuous child molesters. You see what I'm saying? So it's no wonder that he's a child molester. Look at the culture that he's following. Not to mention, of course, his buddy, Malachi Z. York. All right. If y'all are familiar, Malachi York and Africa Bambaataa were close before Malachi York was incarcerated. Is everybody familiar with Malachi York and how he's in jail for a laundry list of counts of child molestation? You see what I'm saying? So we take a look at Kemet, little boys. You understand what I'm saying? And we take a look at the people who follow Kemet, we see them molesting little boys. So we see from the mythological aspect what mythos or what whose myths are better for people. And even in the conversation that we had the night before with myself and Jabari and Ankh, they both admit on the power of the myths of the Bible, because they say 2,000 years later, every nation of people on the earth is arguing about Jesus Christ in all the stories in the Bible. Everybody's doing it. Nobody's arguing about their stories. Nobody cares about the stories of Egypt. That's not influencing millions of people around the world anywhere. People all over the world is arguing about the Bible.
What's the most selling?
The highest selling book in the world. New York Times bestseller every week. You see what I'm saying? Power that's there, and people trying to use that power. What's the power in this crap that these guys are into? Child molestation. That's the evidence shows. There's no disputing it. It's clear because you have child molesters that follow this ideology, right?
Yeah, that spirit, that vibration
of straight
rub off on you.
Being a pirate. All right. Moving on. So which myths are we to go with? The ones that encourage us to take a stand and lay down our lives for the liberation of our people, i.e. Jesus and Moses, or the ones that advocate homosexuality, pedophilia, and incest in one sentence. Literally, it says that his phallus was between the buttocks of his heir. So that's incest because that's your child. That's pedophilia because that's a little boy. and that's homosexuality because that's the same sex as you. In one sentence, 3 different forms of fornication were advocated in the myths of Egypt. But I'm supposed to follow that. I mean, you can follow that if you want to. All right. So there's a woman who's the head of Orthodox Kemeticism, okay, and her name is Nasut Tamra Sayuda, right? She received her master's in Egyptology from the University of Chicago. In her book, The 42 Purifications, she says Mayat does not condemn homosexuality, right? And as a decorated scholar and spiritual leader who is an expert in what's called the Medu Neter. Everybody know what the Medu Neter is, right? That's the hieroglyphs. That's all that is, the hieroglyphs. All right. Such claim is simply data manipulation. So when these guys say that it's in the Mayat that I've not had sex with a man, because that's what they allege is in there. In the spell 700, it's not talking about homosexuality. But this, who I'm gonna believe? These guys who are reading books, or one of the ladies who is actually has her master's in the science? It don't even make no sense. Of course, I'm gonna go with who's got the master's degree, who really studied it. Any such claim is data manipulation. So she's saying they're trying to manipulate the words when they try to act like it's condemning homosexuality. She goes on to say, the passage that is being used to say so is actually referring to a boy child and not a man. And even with that being said, chief Kemetic deities violate even this directly, as we previously stated about Geb molesting a little boy. Other translations assert it is said to be a female equivalent to adultery reference elsewhere in Mayat, basically because Mayat tells you not to commit adultery and not to sleep with another man's wife, which is one of the parallels you can see with our laws as well. But then they're saying that the scripture, or not the scripture, but the principle in Mayat that says, I have not slept with man, they're saying that that's from a female perspective, that she has not committed adultery with a man outside of her husband. These guys are trying to take it and say it means not being a homosexual, no, not being a homo, right? The fact that there is no clear indication of condemnation of homosexuality anywhere in Kemetic culture caused the integrity of the entire culture into question, because you really can't go anywhere. All the times where they say homosexuality is being spoken down upon in Kemet can be called into question. There is no call into question about the judgment that happened to the city of Sodom. There is no call into question about Leviticus 20 and 13, Romans 1. You see what I'm saying? There's no question about if the Bible is against homosexuality. There is nowhere you could really find definitively in all the writings of ancient Kemet that outright condemns homosexuality. The question.
It's up for debate.
It's all up for debate.
It shouldn't be.
Which something like that should never be, right? In conclusion, my personal beliefs predicated upon the evidence I presented through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai tonight shows how quickly this can be used to continue the sadistic, deviant culture of sexual abuse and the homosexual agenda within our communities. Thus, an ideological eradication of Egypt is in order, period. Keep following this madness that tells you that has all kinds of form of not only homoerotic literature, but also homoerotic imagery.
Yeah,
Visuals. You see what I'm saying? And the dude gonna say, you have to learn for 42 years before y'all heard him say this? Holding his penis and said, you got to learn for 42 years before you can understand what this means. I don't want to learn for 42 years to understand. I understand what that means, and I understand I want absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Did it take 42 years for them to understand it 3,500 years ago?
And guess what? You know what his wife said? Let me tell you something. Now, when Tommy Sotomayor got punched at the Sonetta event, do you know what Jabari's wife got on the mic and said when brothers was getting rowdy? Do you know what she said? She said, y'all got to get in touch with your feminine side. Huh? Well, hold on. What? That was, and I'm gonna tell you something too. You'll see if you in the video that I got, which won't come out, you'll see something. Because you know they believe in Mayat, right? So Mayat is symbolized by a feather. So when you see these women that are into this Egyptian culture, they'll wear a feather a big old white feather in their head, right? So as it's getting ready to jump off, she take the feather out of her hair. She start trying to rub niggas with the feather like it's gonna calm niggas down. Yeah, Mayat it's out the window. She starts singing like in the church. She starts singing Egyptian Amazing Grace in the church. You see what I'm saying? Like it was just gonna stop, and none of it. I'm talking about it. Literally amped this, probably amped the situation because no, I didn't get that on camera. I just got the puncher camera and I stopped rolling because I didn't know what was gonna jump off after. I thought niggas was gonna start rushing, but man, it was something special. But it shows, man, that comedic. This stuff is nonsense, man, and it's not. There's no practical application of it to help our people in this day and age. So it's out the window. All right, the scriptures we can see clearly. You know what I'm saying? How it's helping us. Give me somebody give me Leviticus 18:3, and I'll we'll move on after that. Go ahead.
When you was there, man, one the situation with the they wasn't going to show you that picture unless you were studying for 42 years. That has like a Freemason vibe to it, you know, where you got to go through the 32.
Well, that's where Freemasonry comes from.
You got to go through the 32 levels or the 32 degrees. I mean, as the saying goes, or the legend, what have you, you get to the 33rd, and they start tearing down all of this God belief because they say you have to be a believer in some sort of God. Then you get to the 33rd, they let you know, well, it's the devil that does this, or some sort of demon, or whatever. So you're not going to be able to understand what's going on when you're at the first, second, and third degree, or the first, second, and third years of studying Kemet, until you're going to see the dude with his erect rod standing up, and then, you know, that's when you're going to be comfortable seeing that. Two, when the lady starts to sing, this is probably the same things that was going on in Egypt. We had these beliefs that they put on us to keep us subjugated, and we loved it so much that we started to practice these things the same way they gave us Christianity. We just think that all we got to do is sing these hymns and these spiritual songs, and the spirit is going to come down and calm everything down. All right, that's the parallel between with Esau's captivity and you know the Egyptian captivity. And we just think that if we just do this, it's going to work, and we just will never try to follow the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. We'll never go that route to see if that works. We'll just rather sing the song, like the brother said, dust people off with this big ass feather, and it looks ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what she thought was going to happen. You know, I'm sure she had full faith that something was going to happen, but that didn't calm a Negro down anywhere. The situation, the police got caught after that. Niggas start, you know what I mean? I'm not even going to talk about it. You see what I'm saying? But it was getting ready to get hectic in there. You see what I'm saying? So that don't make no sense. We have Leviticus from 18:3 in Leviticus.
Book of Leviticus, chapter 18, verse 3. After the doings of the land of Egypt.
Read. Well, we were. Go ahead.
Shall ye not do?
That's why. You hear about what's on their damn walls, all this incest and pedophilia and homosexuality and false balance that we exposed to the spirit in regards to Mayat. He say, do not do after the ways of the Egyptians. We were instructed explicitly by the Most High to not do these things. Yet here these Negroes are in this day and age doing these damn things. Right? Go ahead.
And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances.
We'll follow after the ways of the Hamites, man. That's what we don't do. We don't follow Hamitic traditions. Okay? Period. We don't, because it's all wicked. When you deal with the Canaanites religion, they was killing all kind of babies. All right? And Kemet killed babies too. All right? They first couple centuries, their first couple dynasties, they was dealing with vampirism and all kind of madness, man. Drinking human blood, sick. We're not supposed to do that. Thus saith the Lord God. All right?
Right, just like other nations as well, right? Following after other nations like the Greeks, right? Yeah. Following after the Grecians, you see similarities of homosexuality that the Grecians practice, just in their cultural period that's symbolic to what they did in ancient Egypt, right? That's where they get a lot of their customs and practices.
Priest Danyala brought it out in his presentation.
Right.
Everybody knows they wrestle naked, right? In Greece. Priest Danyala brought out his presentation. They got that from Egypt. He got little boys wrestling naked on the walls in Egypt.
See that?
The white man even got that from them. Well, number one, the Sodomite, those were Hamites. You see what I'm saying? So Esau, he don't come up with nothing on his own. He got to learn from somebody. And his chief teacher was the people of Ham. in all of their various wicked ways. Period. The Cushites, the Mizraimites, the Canaanites, the Sodomites, etc. were teachers of the white man and all of his wickedness and evil. Right?
God.
Yeah, this is
Go ahead.
Isaiah chapter 19, verse 13.
Mhm.
The princes of Zoan are become fools.
You know, son, I asked you about this. I said 19. Yeah.
You should have told him, go watch the video.
You know, watch the breakdown. Huh?
The princes of Noph are deceived, also seduced Egypt, even they that are the stay of the tribes thereof. The Lord has mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof.
See that? It's a perverse spirit in Egypt. That's why whoever the hell came up with these myths that wrote them in Egypt, that's why they're so perverse. There's a perverse spirit in the midst of that place. Go ahead.
And have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof.
Everything they do is wicked. That's what they're saying. Go ahead.
As a drunken man staggereth in his vomit.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So that Egypt nonsense is out. At this point, we're going to teach what we teach. Y'all can teach whatever the hell it is that y'all teach, and let's see who reaches more people. Let's see who wakes more brothers up. Let's see who gets more people involved in this real fight, this spiritual fight. We'll see, at the end of the day.